Welcome to Silicon Valley Asian Business Talk.
Hello, everyone. This is Roger Chen from University of San Francisco, and we are very pleased to welcome CC Fan to have a conversation on this topic. And this is part of the Silicon Valley Asian Business Talk, sponsored by University of San Francisco Center for Asia Pacific Studies, or CAPS. So I would like to ask a CC Fan, please briefly introduce yourself.
Oh, Hi, Rog. Thanks for having me here. I'm CC Fan. I started coding in 1998 and spent my early career building large-scale, high concurrency infrastructure. About 20 years ago, I was responsible for the backend of an instant message and social platform serving over 600 million MAU. After 2011, I founded three startups one by one, and all three were acquired. Along the way, I also became an early stage investor, and two of the companies I backed have since gone public. From 5 years ago, I shifted my focus fully back to building. I saw an opportunity to reconstruct the distributed computing from the ground up. So I spent 3 years creating a distributed open source framework called UMO. And from last year, I applied this architecture to global GPU scheduling and built a stateful serverless system designed specifically to help AI agent developers improve the capability, reliability, and the development efficiency. Yeah.
Thank you, CC. That's a very, very impressive background. Today, we're going to focus on your talk, which actually we show on the screen, called the Four Hidden Traps in Enterprise AI Adoption. And, we would like to ask you to kind of explain your view.
Trap number 2, the drag and drop comfort zone.
So now let's look at a trap two. Would you please kind of explain your point on trap two, which is a drag and a drop comfort zone? I assume you're talking about many platforms. They offer non-technical people low code or no code tool to develop agent. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, please explain actually your point.
Yes. Yes. I define this drag and drop tool. It's a comfort zone. Tools like N8N, Zapier, and a couple of months ago, OpenAI released their agent builder. They are amazing tools for prototyping. You can build something in one afternoon, actually. But in real enterprise systems, this will hit a wall. Um, uh, first, uh, first, the logic is too simple. Real workflows are messy, so drag and drop can hardly handle that. And second, it's still human controlled. Um, it's people. We draw the boxes, we draw the paths, we draw the arrows, and we connect every elements. Uh, um, it the AI is not planning. It's real. Um, and the last one is a platform lock-in. Um, or once you build it, you will stuck on that. You can't deploy it to your own system, VPC, or or it's very hardly to improve the system continuously. Yeah, so I said drag and drop is a comfort zone.
Actually, I think this is a very, very interesting point. I'd like to kind of ask you further to clarify. First of all, actually, you mentioned about N8, N8N and Zapier, these platform, they are kind of a task flow is too simple, does not fit into the enterprise situation. I
Mm,
kind of agree with you because I used the Zapier very briefly, but
mm,
is it possible, let's say a company, they want to use N8N, as you mentioned here, or Zapier, or any other kind of a simple drag and drop platform to develop agent. But
mm,
the enterprise kind of adding its own task flow, kind of change the task flow to make it fit with the company's situation. Is it possible?
mm. Uh, um, I think it's very hard to do that actually.
Oh, why?
Mm, mm,
The reason I ask this question is because when I used Zapier, I remember I can modify the workflow at the Zapier.
yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, but it's very hard. It's because real enterprise workflows are messy. I think this is the biggest reason. They have exceptions, approvals, and compliance rules, um, and multiple systems. They need to stay in sync. So the drag and
Ah,
drop tools look simple, but they can't represent the complexity. Once the workflow grows beyond a few steps, the diagram becomes fragile. Imagine a very complicated system. So it's impossible to maintain. Um,
mm,
yeah, for example, um a retailer um, trying to automate all the escalation escalations. They need inventory checks, fraud checks, shipping status checks, customer history review, and supervisor approval, um, and many conditions, situations. But the drag and drop flow um, can draw arrows. Um, you will uh, you will get a very complicated diagrams, and you cannot reason about the edge cases and recover when one step when the system fails. So as the sense uh, goes on and you add more and more restrictions, conditions into this system, into this process, and you will feel you cannot maintain this system anymore. Um, so that I say basically drag and drop is very great for very, very simple tasks, uh, like uh, like just two or three steps, access only one or two uh, systems, other applications. Uh, it's very easy to do that. Uh, as the system complexity goes on and the cost of maintenance becomes impossible.
Actually, I want to thank you. This is an excellent point. So, I am sure a lot of audience will thank you for these kind of explanation, especially the example. So basically, you're saying these kind of a drag and a drop system, because it's built in those platforms, it naturally it's kind of very simple. One of the key challenges I can see, based upon your answer, I can hear two very critical components or factors. One is how do you coordinate with companies' other systems, like the ERP system, inventory
Mm,
systems, to make it work, right? Because for any
mm,
enterprise, in order to make those kind of agentic AI system to work, you have to communicate, interface with the other kind of company operating systems. And those kind of a system is kind of difficult. And I will have follow-up question on that. So those kind of a simple drag and drop system is not easy to be compatible or integrated with the other system. Then relating to that is every time when you change, because you say, yeah, I agree with you, Mil, for enterprise, there are a lot of exception management, right? So when you
yeah.
change one thing, then it's affecting many other systems. So that also makes the things very complicated. Then comes the question, following, also I think relating to your later point, because it is kind of a not deployable enterprise infrastructures, platform lock-in, right? So
Mhm.
what is the alternative kind of a system that's going to solve these problems? That's going to allow companies to easily integrate with companies' other operating system. I assume you're talking about the kind of customer-made system can solve these
Mm,
problems. Is that correct?
yeah. Yeah. Um, Actually, uh, it, if we wanna do that, we really need a standard, uh, just like RESTful API specification, so system and the system can interact with API. And for authentication, we introduce OAuth here, and so every system can have uh, the same way to identify a user. But for drag and drop, it's very hard because it's an application, and this application need to access other application, and all the systems are built by different vendors. Uh, but the drag and drop um, were only built by this company. And for example, if you use Zapier, build a workflow, and you use and build another workflow, basically you cannot interact between these two workflows. Yeah,
Oh, even
it's
when
very
you try
hard.
to use API to make them into work, it still does not work
Yeah,
to use
API can
API?
work. Yeah, like tools like and you can expose OpenAI API compatible chat compilation API interface once after you build the workflow. But it's very hard to use because you add new endpoint, a new system into this complicated system, and you let other applications as an API client to consume these services. And I think it's with a complexity. And for enterprise, it's very high cost, and you have to implement a lot of things. Besides that, like compliance auditing, so stuff, uh, so things goes to messy now. Um, and Unlikely if you build your first workflow on OpenAI Agent Builder, basically you cannot deploy to your private system because
Hmm.
it's only SaaS from day one.
Mm.
Yeah.
So let me clarify. So your recommendation, the solution is companies need to build their customized system rather than depend on multiple third-party systems. Is that your recommendation or that's not?
Yeah, my recommendation is enterprise build uh their uh their
Customize the
applications,
system.
yeah, customized directly.
Oh.
Don't use this drag and drop system we should coding the system and make the system maintainable. Yeah.
But actually, there are two situations here. Let's say if I'm a company, I use external systems. One type of external system is called a drag and drop system. Then you say it's not a very good idea to use those external systems. But does that mean as a company, I can still use third-party system, but I need to code. That third-party system requires me to kind of using the software code to customize it, but it's still a third-party external platforms. Is that what you recommend?
Mm, mm, mm.
The
Um,
reason I ask this question is, because I kind of study this, many small companies, they don't have the internal talents, resources to build their own customized system. Many of these companies,
yeah.
they have to rely on external platforms. So for external platforms, based upon your description, there are two types. One, drag and draw, maybe we can call low code or no code. The other is you still have to use kind of a software coding to build those systems. So could you clarify your view if a company has to depend upon third-party external platforms?
Yeah. Um, uh, mm, Basically, I think we should change another way to
Hmm.
think about this question.
Hmm.
First, um, RM in the past 2 years, the reasoning ability is improved a lot. Why we don't use the reasoning effort of RM to
Hmm.
build the system, to build the or diagrams. Uh, for drag and drop, uh, it's still a an automation tool. Basically speaking, it's automation. People draw the steps, and when people draw steps, there will be mistakes occurred, and people will investigate the errors and fix the errors and update the system and go online again. So you have to need a talents. The talents have a great abstraction ability to understand the logic and draw the diagram. When you have that one, you will have a great tool based on drag and drop. So I don't think it's a difference between coding or using tool. I think the biggest problem is we we don't use the advantages of LLM. LLM, uh, let's think, 2 years later, uh, maybe we see GPT 7.0 and Gemini 5. The model will be very, very smart. It it's very intelligent. And then we rely our employee, a very, say, a very basic employee to draw the process, an automation tool to process our workflow, or let LM easily create a complete workflow to handle the situation. So my opinion is we have to bet the technology improvement because we've all seen this in the last 60 years. So I think that's the fundamental reason. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's very good. Actually, I'm very glad, we have this kind of discussion. So here is a question, follow-up question. So if I understand you correctly, you basically say, um, don't create this kind of workflow. Rather rely on companies' influencing ability to large language model to create its own workflow process internally and adjust those internal process. Is
Yeah.
that your point?
Yes.
Okay. So here's a question, because the reason some companies they need some kind of workflow is because company have internal policy, company have internal approval procedures, or company even have because of organizational power structure. So you need to follow particular steps. Every company is different. So because of that, every company has a policy. Those policies are step-by-step actions, right? And as you can see, even for the HR department, for example, the the procedure is different from one company to the other because the company's uniqueness, the histories. So that probably, again, I'm just asking your kind of thoughts. Does that mean the workflow is still necessary? Because that's how company operates. And that's how make one company unique and different from the other company, because the way they do things are different. When we say the way of doing things different from one company to other, we basically mean the workflow is different. So how do you respond to that point?
Um, I think we cannot rely on people to define the workflow. Um, in the last 20 years, we built digital systems to help enterprise improve. Most of the systems have two significant feature. First one, they use database. Second, it's an automation tool, from Salesforce to GitHub. It's all do that.
Mm.
Yeah. And and uh, why after this system introduced to enterprise, but enterprise cannot uh, s- get a significant improve because the people control all these workflows. So
Yeah,
the
because
limitation,
people, you're right, that's true. Yeah.
yes, the limitation of people makes the system cannot uh, go high. That's why LM is very popular today because when you chat to uh, the SOTA model, it's just smarter, uh, smarter than doctors nowadays, and every decision is made by a doctor. Can you imagine that? Yeah. So I say we put LM, we put intelligence in every step, but we don't put intelligence in the whole process. That's a big mistake.
Okay,
Yeah,
this is a very fascinating philosophical discussion. Um, so, actually, I think your point basically is let LLM to decide its work process, not human being, because LLM also follows certain process when they take the task, right? And they
yes,
must decide what is step one, two, three. But your point is don't let the human being to do it. Let the system decide what is the process.
yes. We should define all our policies, limitations, specifications by documents. That's the rules, and we put all the rules to LM, and the reasoning step of the LM will
Yeah, they will figure
understand
out the
all the
process. I
rules.
see your point.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
yes,
I know what you're talking about. Well, maybe there's an only tricky point, and we can move on to the next one because this is a very fascinating debate. So for some companies, they may even, because it seems to me you agree that companies should put some limitations, restrictions, maybe we call it guardrails, then let
guardrails.
the
Yeah,
LLM to decide, right? But for
yeah,
some companies, they may even view the process, like a step one, two, three, as part of the guardrail, as part of the rule process, as part of the, instructions, right? So
Yeah.
again, that's not because there's no answer to that question, but I see your point, which is a very, very good point. But I think the overall direction is very clear from you. Human beings should have put less restrictions and let LLM to do more things using its internal intelligence.
Yes. We should go to intelligence
Yeah.
beyond automation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe that's why, actually a lot of people still use a kind of a, task flow because we believe the system is not smart enough, not trustworthy enough to take over the whole process, I guess.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? But I
Yes.
think I see your point. Thank you. So now let's look at, do you want to say something about this one?
Yeah. Yeah. Most of the time uh, we build the workflow is totally a black box. Maybe we tried it 50 times and it gives correct answer, but we cannot guarantee every time this workflow can give the correct answer.
Sorry,
Um,
CC, actually, could you, before you continue, could you kind of explain a little more when you say the task flow is mostly black box? What do you mean by that? Because for a lot of people, task flow requires people to put a clear definition at each step, clear prompt, clear instruction at each step, like a, step, node, trigger, criteria. Seems to some people it's not a black box. But when you say most
hmm,
task flow are still black box, what do you mean by that?
hmm, okay. Let's talk about from an example.
Mm,
Imagine
good. Example is good. Yeah.
imagine a customer asks for a refund. Uh,
Mm.
and uh, the workflow should first read the policy and give the answer. You're eligible for a $100 refund. But then we should start to process the refund and then cancel the shipment. At last, we have updated the inventory. Um, uh, and uh, uh, and uh, uh, and this workflow, um, when when you do when you do that by drag and drop tools, you will see each step. Uh, I mean, you cannot guarantee the AI will follow all these steps consistently, um, because its reasoning is invisible. And the moment you add conditional branches and the workflow becomes unmanageable. So the diagram looks transparent, but the decision making is still a black box. Uh, we uh, uh, we transfer all the context from the first step to next step. Um, and and I think it's a technical problem. Uh, each step in these tools simply calls an LM API. And if we want maintaining the accurate and consistent context across many steps, it's extremely hard. And we keep all the information, all the context in our memory, and we every step we call API, and the next step we call API again, and the context changed. And you have to maintain it correctly. And the small variations changed lead to different outcomes, and all the
Mm.
steps after will go to another branch. Um, so, uh, so I think the better approach is to embrace what modern LLMs are actually good at, reasoning still the previous thing. that we let LM reasoning in one context to decide how to do that, and after it executes. So it will be make things clearly because the reasoning steps you can improve it because you can see it. You don't see 8 reasoning steps. You see only one. There is no branches. Everything started in one branch has an end. So that's very different. That's very different from black box. I say it's a transparent system. Yeah.
Okay, that's an excellent point. So in other words, I kind of hear your point. You think one of the major problem if we follow this kind of predetermined task flow is it kind of break the context into separate, isolated parts. So these
Yes.
different contexts do not talk to each other. Every time one step relate to one context and calling the LM model to do using API to do certain things. So that
Yes.
will prevent the large language model to see the whole picture. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So here's the question relating to that. Is it possible, let's say, you still use kind of a large language model, you're still rely on its inference model, but you give the instruction about the step 1, 2, 3, 4, rather than kind of using the drag and drop model. So in other words, when you give the large language model the prompt, you give the large language model the instruction based upon certain flow, 1, 2, 3, 4. In that situation, where the large language model still treat this whole task, even though it includes several steps, as a one
Hmm.
big context.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, yeah. Uh, One situation is when you proceed the step 3, you found there is a problem here, and
Mm,
you needed to back check step 1 and step 2.
mm,
Uh,
mm.
this situation is very hard for workflows. Yes, and if you wanna handle that, your prompt and your logic, like you define demos, like LM now, how to do that. Um, uh, the more you define in prompts, um, actually, you make LM will more um, hallucinate in that. Uh, yeah, because it is very hard to control the LM. Don't do something. What you can do is tell LM, you do this. Uh, yeah, that's the problem of LM, because it's not a generative AI. Yeah.
I'm still not very clear. Are you saying even within when you work with the one large language model, even you do not use those kind of let's say workflow determined or kind of created by the system, you just give the large language model prompt. But in that prompt, you say do 1, 2, 3, 4. And one of the problem is if something wrong with the step number 3, it's not easy for the large language model using its influencing ability to go back to step 2 or step 1. Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying?
Yes, yes, you can do that. We usually call it one shot or few shot. It's a
Mhm.
prompt skills, right? But when things go complex, like you have 10 steps and you have to write a lot of these few shots into the prompt, and that make LM confused.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's how I said. Uh, Usually we don't tell them do not do this thing in our prompt because
mm.
sometimes you will find it's useless. RM still do things you don't want it to because that's LM. What we do is we should tell MM you have to do that. You do that will be good. We won't tell RM to not do something because that make RM confused. So yeah, so prompt have a limitation, and a few shots not worked every time, especially for this logic. For this logic, I'm will confuse when you see if you got error in step 3, back to step 2. But if you see another error in step 3, you have to skip step 5, just go to step 7. And that's confused. What we do, yeah, it's tell then just like the flat manual. Yeah, a palette use a flat manual. It's very clear, but we cannot describe everything that clear for our business logic. Yeah, yeah, just
That's
like
excellent. Okay,
yeah,
that's great. So shall we move on to the next trap?
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for watching.